are skipping lesson 4 because I didn't feel that we really needed to cover it. So we're moving on to 5, okay? So we're going to name decimal fractions in expanded, unit, and word forms by applying place value reasoning, okay? So I'm going to break this down for you really quick. So we're going to name decimal fractions. Now, a lot of people, okay, when they see this word right here, fractions, their heart rate starts to go up, they start to sweat, they get really nervous. Because fractions are really scary. They're not, okay? We're also not working with fractions today like this, okay? They're called decimal fractions because remember that decimals are a fraction of a number, okay? They're not quite a whole number. Just like how 2/3 is a fraction of a number, it's part of a number. It's not a full number, right? So like 2/3, right? Here's 1/3, 2/3, right? It's not a whole yet, okay? So when we see on our place value chart, everything after the decimal, those are decimal fractions because they're part of a number. They're a fraction of a number. Okay, does that make sense? So when you see decimal fractions, don't get scared, okay? It just means that we're working with decimals today. And we're going to write them in expanded form. Okay, you guys remember expanded form from last year, right? Where we say like 2 10s plus, or that's unit form, sorry, my bad. 200 plus 10 plus 2, right? That's expanded form, which in standard form would be 212, right?
Unit form.
Is this familiar?
Yeah.
So expanded form means you're drawing it out, you're stretching it out, expanding it. Standard form is just plain standard, right? Number form. And then unit form is the 200s, 200s plus 110 plus 2 ones. But we're going to do that with decimals today, okay? So very easy. It's the same thing, but we're just taking the tenths, hundredths, thousandths deal into it, okay? And then we're going to apply place value reasoning, okay? Any questions on that? Okay, and then word form is obvious, right? We're going to write it out in words. So 200s, right? Blah, 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 blah. Okay? All right, moving on. Here we go. So this is just a review of what we've done, okay, the past couple days, past couple lessons. So I'm just going to do it really quick. So 6/10 as a decimal, okay, means 6/10. I have 6 in my tenths place, okay? Just like if that were to say 6/10s, right, instead of tenths, then it would be right, it would be right here, right? It's the same thing, 6/10, 6/10, right? It's the same kind of language. So I have 6/10 on my place value chart. The decimal can be 6/10, or you can say 0. On this way, come on. You can say 0.6, right? Because the decimal is between the ones and the tenths. So 0.6. If I were to multiply it by 10 to the second, think about it. Think about what 10 to the second is. Don't say it. 10 to the second, go. 100. Can we say it with a little more pep in our step? 10 to the second is? 100. 100. Yes, be proud of yourself for knowing that over the weekend. Okay, good job. So if I were to multiply it by 100, if I multiply, the numbers move that way on a place value chart. 2 spots, because there's 2 zeros in 100. Okay, so the 0 goes 1, 2. And the 6 goes 1, 2, okay? And it becomes 60 because the decimal's right here, okay? We don't need to write that 0, but just for the sake of moving it over, so our answer is 60, okay? Question, Charlie?
I'm just like, is the decimal always going to be right between that 1s and 10s?
Always between 1s and 10s. Good question. Yeah, always.
Like, the decimal doesn't move over, like...
The decimal does not move. Remember that thing we did with Henry last week where he just stayed, right? That was Henry, right? He just stayed there and then we moved around him, right? Decimal stays. The decimal stays. The numbers move around it, okay? Drew, you can go when Emma gets back. Okay? All right, questions on this? This is review. This is from my old stuff. Okay. Lily, what are we writing? Okay, yeah, just hold on one second. That's a review, so you shouldn't have to be writing anything right now, okay? All right, cool. Now, could you get out your flimsy whiteboard and your dry erase marker?
I haven't used our flimsy whiteboard in a while.
It's been a minute. And you're going to put a new sheet in there today, okay? So I'm going to pass this out right now. Matt, can you help me? I'll take this half if you want to do this half. We don't need them, friends. We'll just, if people need them, they can grab them, but I want to try to avoid that right now. So slide that into your place that you chart for me. Yeah. Keep, or no, yeah, you're actually fine. Whatever side it fits on, just put it into the sleeve. Okay. Yeah, just put it in so you can write on it. Yep. While you're doing that, hear my voice right now, okay? Every math lesson, we do not need to be wiping off our boards with a dry erase marker, or sorry, not a dry erase marker, a Clorox wipe, okay? We don't need to be doing that every lesson, okay? If you're still able to write on it, then go for that, okay? But if it has like dry writing all over it where you can't write on it, that's where we use the Clorox wipe. But it wastes a lot of time if we're all getting a Clorox wipe, all wiping it down. But if you're grabbing a tissue to erase, that's cool. But just keep that in mind, okay? Let's not be wasting time with the Clorox wipe, okay?
And wasting trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure trees don't like Clorox.
Go ahead and erase that,
Or
okay?
tissues.
Okay, and when you have put it in and you're ready to go, give me a thumbs up so we can move on. Okay. Give me a thumbs up so I know you're ready to move on. Cool. All right, here we go. Sweet. So, you're not going to write anything yet, so you're just going to be watching this one, but you'll hop in with me on the next one. Okay, so awesome. I love how Jake put his marker down, so he's not tempted. That's very good. Okay, so I am going to solve this one, and then you'll join me on the next one. So this one says 3,047. Okay, that's in word form. Everybody point to that and say word form.
Word.
And point up here and say word form.
Word
form. Good. Okay. So 3,047. So I'm going to put that in my place value chart. Okay. So 3,047. Okay. Which means I have 0 hundreds. Hundreds weren't mentioned in there. So that means I've got to fill in that empty spot with a 0. Okay. So 3,047. Standard form, it would look just like it does up there with a comma. Okay. 3,047. Okay. Expanded form would be 3,000 plus, and you don't have to put 0, okay? You don't have to say plus 0. You can, but it's not needed. So 3,000 plus 40 plus 7, okay? Everybody understand what just happened there? Expanded form? Okay, this is review. We did this a lot last year, okay? And then unit form is 3,000, or thousands, my bad. 3,000s plus 4 tens Are we okay? Charlie, question?
Wouldn't it be 40 times?
No, because that would mean we would have 4 hundreds. So remember, it's just 4 tens, which means 40.
Oh, right.
But it's not 40 tens, it would be 40 ones. But for it to be correct, and like cleaned up and stuff. What do we need? Donnie, are we good?
You need some markers.
Okay, you know where my extras are at too. Or the first one? Okay. Alright. So Charlie, good question. It would be just 4 tens, but if we were going to say it in a different form, it would be 40 ones. But it's more correct to say 4 tens. Okay? And then 7 ones. Okay. Sorry. Alright. Any questions on what I just did? Okay. So we've got word form, we've got standard form, expanded form, unit form. Okay? Now, this part you're going to do, okay? Explain to your partner the purpose of writing this number in different forms, okay? Why do we have different forms? Think about it. I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to talk to your group. Ready, go.
Split the number up into solve it. If you see the rest of the number, you add it, write it out like this, send it, what they look like.
Huh?
Guys, can you guys do this?
No, that's yay, give me 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Alright. Brooks, can you tell me something your group said about why do we have these different forms?
We said that it could be because someone might not understand expanded forms, so they need a different form.
Good, okay, so one form might make more sense to someone than a different form. That's a good point. Yeah, I love it. Red Monkey Kings, someone from your group, can you tell me what you guys said? Okay. Go ahead, Albert. Good, yeah, easier to solve. If you have an understanding of the number, then it's easier to understand. If we're going to add 100 to that, right, you would know exactly where to put that because you know where it lands on the place value. Okay. Good. Any other thoughts that you guys came up with? Eddie, go ahead. Good, yeah, to see the problem in a different angle, yeah, or a different light, right? Like I understand the problem a lot more when I know what units I'm working with, right? Like if I just see those digits up there, 3047, I might not totally understand what's going on there, but if I put it in unit form, then I know what place values I'm working with this number, right? So good point, good. All right, cool. Cool. So here, so that was a little review of last year, okay? Now, I want you to do me a favor and on your flimsy whiteboard, okay, on your flimsy whiteboard, put your finger on thousands. Thousands. Okay? And we're going to use the new one that I just gave you. Yeah, so yeah, put thousands on your new place value chart. Thousands. If you see someone in your group who's playing the wrong one, can you help fix it?
I'm on the right side.
Okay, with kindness and charity. Kindness and charity, okay? You're close. That's thousands. 20,000. Thousands. Yeah, there you go. So you should have been pointing at this one, okay? Not this one. This one. Because notice I said thousands. There's that TH, okay? So we're going to be working with decimals today when we see that, okay? This problem right here that we're solving, what does that say? Ready, go.
1,000.
Good, 1,000. So put 1 in your thousandths place. 1,000. 1,000. Okay? And then, my friends, do you think it would make sense to have a number that would have like a 0, then the decimal, and then a bunch of spaces, and then a 1. Would that, have you seen a number like that before?
No.
No, right? Do me a favor, look up at our place value chart, the pink placard, okay? What is between the decimal and the 1 up there? Go. 2 zeros, good. 2 zeros, okay? Which means that these place values right here, the tenths and the hundredths, need a 0. So put a 0 on the the tenths and the hundredths. Okay? We cannot leave those guys hanging. They've got to have zeros there for us to know, okay, I have 0 tenths, 0 hundredths, but I have 1,000. Okay? And then remember, this is a lot of you were asking me about this last week, okay? I personally, Miss Witt, like to put a 0 in the ones place, okay? Because if you look at that number that I wrote over there, without the 0, it can look a little unclean, right? Like it's kind of hard, like if that decimal gets lost somewhere, it's hard to know that that's a decimal, okay? So I want you to write that 0. If you get up to higher grades and stuff and you decide to drop it, that's fine. But I, in 5th grade, want you to write the 0, but in the ones place. That's before the decimal, okay? Because I think it looks a little cleaner, okay? Questions on that part?
No.
Cool. Okay. Just to make sure we're all good, okay? So then going from there, we're gonna learn how to write these in standard expanded uniforms. It's gonna be a little different, okay? So you may have noticed on your place value chart that I gave you last week, the one with a bunch of things at the top. If that's still visible, can you flip it over and look at it real quick?
What is it?
If not, it's okay. It's the old one that was on your flimsy whiteboard. The old one. Notice how there's a bunch of things at the top. Look at the decimal side, the tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. Okay. Do you see fractions up there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You can flip it back to this side now. So that's how we're going to write it as a fraction. Okay. So 1/10. If I were to have a 1 here, it would look exactly what it sounds like. 1/10. Right. So this would be 1/100th, just like it shows on that old place value chart. And then this one would be 1,000 or 1/1000. Okay.
Should I write that?
Can you wait a little bit, Lila? Is that okay? No, you don't have to write that. Sorry. But guys, do I have any value in these place values right now? No. So we're gonna ignore that for just a second. So if I'm writing this in standard form, one way I can do that is as a fraction. Okay. Because remember that decimals, anything after the decimal point, is a fraction of a number. It's not a whole number yet, right? So I can write it as a fraction, 1/1000, or I can write it as a decimal. So you have 2 options for standard form, okay? 2 options for standard form, 1/1000th or 0.001, okay? That's how we write 1,000th in standard form. Any questions on that? Okay. Well, are you able to get a hold of it?
So my mom picked up, and then she was like, I just got to work, so you call your grandma. So I called my grandma, and then she didn't pick up. So she said, call her later.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, don't worry about notebook yet. Charlie, you're gonna write it in just a second. Okay, I'm gonna give you time to write this in your notebook. So you can hold off on that, okay? All right, so then expanded form, okay? This is where it gets a little funky, okay? But trust me, it will make sense the more you do it, okay? So right here, this version of expanded form is we have 1 copy of 1/1000, okay? So expanded form, remember we're still stretching it, okay? And then remember also too that a multiplication symbol, you can think in your head copies of, right? Whenever you see multiplication, copies of. So if it was 4 times 3, it would be 4 copies of 3, right? I'm going to wait because I see people who are writing things they don't need to be on their whiteboard. I know it's just a lot of me talking, guys. I know it's not super exciting, but if you miss this, it's going to be really tough. Okay? So can I wait a little bit, Oliver? Is that okay? Once I finish this slide, then we can do bathroom and things like that. Okay? I'm almost there. I know. I feel it too, okay? All right. Or you can still write it as a decimal. So it's still one copy of 0.001. Okay? So hear me out on this. If I had instead, don't write this, just look up here. Oops. If I had instead 3 thousandths, okay, 3 thousandths, I would write 3 copies of 1/1000. Okay, so that's one way to write. Oops, sorry, put the parentheses in the wrong spot. So that's one way to write expanded form for 3 thousandths, or 3 copies of 0.001. So the decimal and the fraction stay the same, but you're just writing how many copies of that you have. Okay? Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I don't know if I'm like over explaining it, but I just want to make sure it makes sense. Okay? Any questions on expanded form? Okay. So then for unit form, okay, it's exactly like the others. Okay, so if I were to have 300s, sorry, struggling with my pen today. If I were to have 300s, okay, I would write 300s. So it's the same thing. I just have 1,000. Okay? Any questions on those forms that we just talked about? Charlie.
Instead of it being 1,000ths, wouldn't it be 100?
No, because it's in the thousandths place.
But a 1 I think is 1,000. And the hundreds I mean.
Nope, I just have 0, 0, 0, and then well, this is supposed to be a 1. I'm not sure where you're seeing the 1. Or the hundreds.
Yeah, you spread a number in the hundreds for seconds.
But that was for an example, friend. That was just an example. But for this question right here, 1,000, it's 1,000. Okay? Alright, so if you can take out your notebook and a pencil, and you don't have to do this part, okay? But write 1,000 and write down the standard form. Basically take notes on this part right here. And I'm going to give you like 3 minutes to do that. Okay? So you, no, we're going to keep using it. But you're going to have 3 minutes to just get this down, okay? That you can refer back to when you're doing your homework and stuff. Yes, ma'am. So you don't have to write this part unless you want to. Okay? Yes, Emma. Nope, we're going to still use it. Right now, just get out your notebook.
Can you write the lesson?
As always. As always, put the date. Today is the 23rd of August. So 8/23. And put lesson 5. It's lesson 5.
Wait, but we skipped lesson 4? Yeah.
As I said at the beginning of this lesson, we skipped 4.
It's the 23rd.
So write that at the top, please, so you know what lesson this is, what day we worked on it. Okay? And it shouldn't take you too long, but you're just getting this down. It's a perfect example that you can refer back to when you're doing your homework. If you want to write a place value chart and show it like that, go for it. I think that's really smart. But the main point I want you to get down is this. Okay? I'm going to add one more thing. It's kind of hard to see, but I also want you to write word form, okay? So unit form is the number and the word form is just all words. So I want you to write 1,000 in words. Okay, and I'll stop talking to you. And then Lilo, once you get that down, you can go to the bathroom because you still need to go, okay? You're doing a great job. I'm going to give you all a point. Keep going. I know it's tiring. Not the most exciting. This is a long time, so I'm going to give you 2 minutes, okay? You can do it in 2 minutes. Don't worry about making it super pretty. I just want you to get the information down. So you can write standard form this, expanded form that, right? I can always come back to this later too if we need to, okay? Okay, about 1 more minute. There's not really like a abbreviation. All right, we have to move on. Once we start our homework and stuff, if you, our problem set, if you want me to go back to this slide, I can, okay? We do have to move on, all right? So go ahead and close your notebooks, and then if you were reading a book, go ahead and put that book away, okay? We're gonna go back, excuse me, to our whiteboard, okay? So here, I'll choose the whiteboard. So give me 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So Brady, go ahead and pause it. We can go back to that, okay? I just don't want you to miss this part. So one thing that I, with skipping lesson 4, so Donnie cap on the marker. So with skipping lesson 4, one thing I didn't get to kind of teach you was that sometimes it can look like this, okay? We're familiar with this though, okay? So kind of like what we were talking about earlier. So ignoring the, sorry, I have a frog in my throat. Ignoring the fraction side for right now, the decimal side for right now. Like if we were to have, like Charlie was talking about, like 40 tens, okay? We know that it's not actually 40 tens, but it would be what?
4 tens.
400s, good, 400s, okay? So we would have to kind of shift everything on the place value chart to fit that, right? So this is the same concept, okay? So 13 thousandths, okay? Check it out. I could write 13 thousandths in my place value chart, but can I have 2 digits in there?
No.
No. So it's actually really simple without having to write all the dots and circling and moving over, right? I can just shift that 1 over to the hundredths place. Does everybody see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay? Because 13 is 10 and 3, right? So that 10 is that 1, so it can just move over, okay? So if you ever see like a 2-digit and then 1 place value, just know that you can shift it over, okay? The last digit of that number, this 3, is going to go in that place value that we're talking about, okay? So when you see that, just know that you're going to fill it in from right to left. with like the last digit. So if I had, for example, instead of 13 thousandths, if I had like 31 hundredths, okay, I would maybe start by putting 31 in there, but the 1 is going to stay, and where's the 3 going to go? What place value? The tenths, okay? So then it's still 31 hundredths, but that 3 shifts over, okay? Anyway, moving on. We're almost done, guys. I know this is like really tiring, not super fun, but I promise we're almost there, okay? So 13 thousandths is going to go right here, okay? And then can I leave this tenths place blank?
No.
No, what do I got to put there?
A 0.
0, okay? And then what does Miss Witt want you to put in the 1s place?
0.
0, okay? That point's right here, okay? The decimal is always in between. So it's 0.00, or sorry, 0.013. 0.01. Okay? Alright, moving on. So go ahead and put 0.013 on your place value chart. Then you can draw just a line underneath that. So that way you can write these forms underneath, okay? So you're going to practice writing these forms. So go ahead and write what you think. There's 2 options, remember. One is not better than the other, but you need to have one of the 2. So think about how you would write 13 thousandths in standard form. Okay, ready, go. Do it, write it on your whiteboard for me. How would you write 13 thousandths in standard form? Think back to, you can look back at your notes if you want. But think about how you would write 13 thousandths in standard form. There's 2 options.
Would you put it in where?
Finished. I did it simple way.
So it would change the 1 to a 50 and that's or kind of here, right? We've already written it as a decimal. And we've already written it, but it would be this. All right, cool. Do you have one of these 2 written down? Yeah? Okay, does everybody see the fraction version there?
Yeah.
So 13 thousandths is exactly what it sounds like in fraction form. So 13 thousandths, right? So just remember that part. Yeah, Lily.
Do you have to rewrite it?
Huh?
Do you have to rewrite it?
If you did it wrong?
No. Since we did that from the beginning, do you have to rewrite it?
No, but I mean, well, I did ask you to write standard form, so technically, yes, it's the same. Okay, but as long as you know that that was standard form, then yeah. Oliver?
I wrote like for thousandths, I wrote 3 1,000ths, and then for the hundreds.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we want to write it all together, okay? So it's still one number, right? Like as if we had 430, like you would still write it all together. Okay, so that's a good point. But yeah, it's still one whole number together. Okay, not whole number, but one number together. Okay, Drew, question? Okay. All right, cool. Go ahead and think about how you would write that in expanded form and write that underneath what you wrote for standard form. Okay? Don't talk with your group quite yet. We'll do that on the next one. Okay? Yeah, so, or it'll be before, yeah. Well, so how many copies of hundreds do you have? 1, yeah. So you could write it like hundreds, like 1 times 0.01, and then you also have to include fractions too. So then that would be a 3 then. Do you get what I'm saying? So if you want to break them up, yeah, so you could do 3 times 0.013. Or sorry, 3 times 0.001. And or 13. I'm sorry, I'm missing a number. You could say 13 copies of 1,000. Or you could break it apart and say 1 copy of 100 plus 3 copies of 1,000. Close. We're close. But I'll put it up there. You'll see. Sorry, I know that was confusing. I cannot get my brain to work. Okay, beautiful. So it looks confusing because there's just a lot going on up there. Okay. But this is one option. Maybe it'll let me write. This is one option. One option. One option. One option. Okay. And that just made it worse. I'm sorry. Hold on. So here's one, and here's one. I know it's a little confusing, but I'm going to break it down, okay? So this is what I was trying to tell Drake, but I fumbled over my words. So you could break apart the hundreds and the thousands, right? And say 1 copy of 1,000 or 100, okay? Plus 3 copies of 1,000. That is one version that you can write, okay? Or you could say 13 copies of 1,000. Right? Does everybody see that one? How many of you did this one? Anyone? Okay. Okay. Good. So that one's probably the most succinct. Okay. Or you could do it in decimal form where it says 1 copy of 0.01, which is hundredths. Okay. And this should be a plus. Okay. Plus 3 copies of 0.001, which is thousands. Okay. Charlie?
Wouldn't it just be like 13 times 0.00?
You could do 13 times 0.001. It has to be 0.001. So you could also do that.
Why do you add a 1 at the end?
Because it's 1,000. Because if it was 0.000, that's nothing, right? So that would just be 0.
Wouldn't it be 3? Because there's 3,000.
Because what's 3 times 3? If we were to have a 3 there, what's 3 times 3? Yeah, and that's incorrect. We have 13. So Charlie, what's 13 times 1?
13.
So 13 times 0.001 would give us 0.013. Okay. All right. We're gonna quickly go to unit form. Just for the sake of time, I'm gonna show it to you. Okay. But also because I know you guys know this part already. Okay. So 100, 3 thousandths, or 13 thousandths. That is up to you. Okay. I know this is confusing. Any questions about what we just did? Okay. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give you the problem set, and I'm gonna walk you through parts of it. Okay. And then and then we'll take a brain break. Like before we even start it, I'm gonna walk you through it, and then we'll take a brain break. Okay.
Yay!
So, Renee, can you come on up?
Brain breaks are the best.
Could we put our stuff away?
You can if you want to use your notebook though. Leave it out.
How sharp it is.
can put everything away if you would like. If your notebook or your place value chart is going to help you, you can keep it out. But I'm going to go ahead and get started, okay? Just give me 2 more minutes of your time, then we'll take a brain break, okay? Can you wait till break this time? All right, so the first part, it says express as decimal numerals, okay? It's just saying write it as a decimal, okay? That's all it's saying. First one is done for you, so use that as an example, okay? There's an example right there for you, so be sure to use it. And your notebook can also help you, okay? So 4 thousandths, okay? The 4, the digit 4, is just going to go in the thousandths place, okay? And everything else fills in after that. All right, let's look at C. When I snap my fingers, can you as a class read C to me? Are you ready?
1
Good. So, check it out. This part's super important, okay? If you want to write this in your notebook at some point, you can, okay? And, anytime we see and, okay, that means decimal, okay? So 1 and 324 thousandths means it's 1 and, everybody see that? 1 and 324 thousandths, okay? Does everybody see what I did there?
Yeah.
Charlie.
What would you exactly write? Oh, I thought you said like.
I'm just doing it. I'm doing it kind of with you, okay? So 1 and 324 thousandths. So the 324 thousandths part, do you guys see what I mean where the last digit goes in the thousandths place? Right? The 324 goes in the thousandths place, okay? Yeah. It's going to be a little confusing, okay? But it just takes some time getting used to the language, okay? We're not going to spend too much time on this lesson. Like, if we get stuck on it today, we won't really harp on it tomorrow, okay? But then here, now we have a fraction, okay? Actually, let's look at G. Okay, so we have a whole number and a fraction. This is called a mixed number. Everybody say mixed number.
Mixed number.
We'll talk more about that when we get to fractions, okay? But mixed number means that it has a whole number and a fraction. So, looking over at our place value chart over here, whole numbers go on the left side of the decimal, fractions go on the right side of the decimal, okay? So our whole number, what's our whole number in G? Ready, go. 3, nice. Okay, which means that 3 goes on the left side of the decimal. And then we have 946 thousandths. Okay, so then I just fill that in. Is my 6 in the thousandths place? Yes. Okay, and that's what it says right here, right? 946 thousandths. So it's 3.946. Okay, questions on what you're doing on this part? Good. Okay, we're a little quiet, so I just wanted to make sure. Good. Okay. Then here, this is a given, but it's expressed in words. So not unit form where it has a number in words. You're going to write it in word form. Okay? Pretty straightforward. And then here, this is where, let's see. So you're going to draw a small place value chart. Okay? It's very basic, very small, okay? So you can do a place value chart, okay? And then this looks really confusing. Don't let that confuse you, okay? I don't know why they put all the numbers up there like that. I think it just makes it tougher to see. But basically on 3 ABC, you're gonna just do expanded form. So whatever expanded, however you choose to write expanded form, that is what you're doing on 3, A, B, and C, okay? So you're going to put it in a place value chart first, just like this, and then write it in expanded form, okay? So don't make it harder. If they made it look harder than it is, it's not. Just put it in a place value chart and then write expanded form. And then we're going to skip 4 and 5, okay? So you can cross those out, okay? Sound good? Okay, cool.